Good morning, class. Can you hear me? Walaikum salam. Can you hear me clearly? Yes. Okay, there are only 58 students at the moment. Your class is about 155, I think. And where are rest of the students? They have not joined the site. Walaikum salam. Should we wait for the students or they will join later? How much time? For how much time should we wait? 5 minutes? Okay. I hope everybody is fine. I'm okay. I'm good. Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I am okay. Fine. It's good to know that you all are having your lectures regularly and you are all good. What about your friends and families? After 1 minute, I'll start my lecture. Ninety-seven 97 students are there. So let's start the topic. Today's topic is infarction. It's a very easy topic to understand. And as you have gone through hemodynamics, thrombosis, shock, so you might be having a very clear concept about all the terminologies. First of all, what is infarction? So an infarct is an area of ischemic necrosis which is caused by occlusion of either the arterial supply or the venous drainage in a particular tissue. So the definition is clearly is very clear that necrosis is a permanent damage of the tissues. So you have gone through necrosis, apoptosis. So necrosis is the caused by, there are several factors, you know, by your previous knowledge, but the main cause is that there is occlusion of the arterial supply or venous drainage. Obviously, the vitality and life of the cell is by the blood, because blood is the main source of supply of oxygen and nutrients to the cell. So when the main source of the supply is occluded due to any cause, either the arterial supply or the venous drainage, so the impact will be on the supplying area, that is the cell. So the basic component of infarction is vascular compromise. So this vascular compromise is due to the obstruction of the arterial supply. Obviously, when there is some obstruction means the artery is not letting the blood to flow in a constant flow, or this is impeding the supply of blood, or there is impeded venous drainage. When the blood is supplied, so the waste materials, they are gone out of the cell via the venous drainage. So there is problem, either there is obstruction to the arterial supply or the venous drainage is impeded. It means the veins are not carrying the waste products out of that area. So what will happen? There will be a complex of uh, immaterial things. So it will lead to damage of the living tissue. Now what are the causes of arterial occlusion? 99% arterial occlusion, the main common cause which you have seen, this is thrombosis. Thrombosis, or the emboli, they are traveling from one area to the other. Like in most myocardial infarction, most of the thrombi, they originate after the surgery, after a major surgery. So the microthrombi or emboli, they travel from the main vein to the arteries and they occlude the tiny vessels of the heart. So they result in MI. Other causes which are included is local vasospasm. Vasospasm is the constriction of the arteries, or the atheroma which is already present due to the hemorrhage within the plaque that has been expanded, because that has not been treated properly via anti platelet medicines. So that atheroma, it expands its size. So this will also lead to the occlusion of the arterial supply. Then certain extrinsic compression of the vessels, like by tumor, when there is tumor outside the vessel and the vessel is lying near it, as the tumor goes in size, so what will it do? It will it will exert a pressure on the neighboring vessels, so the vessel will occlude the arterial supply. Or there is twisting of the vessels, for example in testicular torsion or bowel volvulus. These are the two examples of twisting of the vessels. And extrinsic compression, the example is tumor. Expansion of atheroma, the example is hemorrhage within the plaque. So compression of the blood supply by edema or by entrapment in the hernial sac. Hernia is a common terminology. You might have gone through this terminology. So whenever there is a hernia, there is entrapment of the blood supply, because the hernia is defined as the transfer of one transfer of the viscera from one place to another. So it will occlude the vessel. Then traumatic rupture of the blood supply. These all are the 99% of the causes I told you. These are due to thrombi or embolic events, and other causes are these, like vasospasm, atheroma, compression of the vessel, twisting of the vessel, edema by entrapment, and traumatic rupture of the blood supply. So these are the arterial occlusion causes. Then in venous occlusion, organs with single venous outflow, those organs, they have single venous outflow, there is thrombosis of the vessel, so it will lead to impediment of the blood supply in that area. But most of the organs like our lungs, they have dual blood supply. Then intestines, they have dual blood supply. So if there is obstruction in one of the vessel, the other vessel, it compensates the flow. But in most of the solid organs like kidneys and spleen or pancreas, they have single blood supply, main supply. So if that main vessel is occluded, so there is no other vessel to compensate it. So they will lead to infarction. So basic classification of infarction is classified according to the color and presence or absence of the infection. So these are classified into two types, red infarction and white infarction, and both are having bland and septic types. So red infection and white infarction, these are divided into two. So red infarction, when there is venous occlusion, such as in ovarian torsion. So in which circumstances the red infarction occurs? It occurs in number one, venous occlusion, for example, in ovarian torsion. Number two, in loose tissues such as in lungs, which allow blood to collect in the infarcted zone. Then in tissues with dual circulations, for example, lungs and small intestine, it is permitting the flow of blood from the unobstructed vessel into the necrotic zone. So such perfusion is not sufficient to rescue the ischemic tissues. Number four is in tissues that were previously congested because of sluggish venous outflow. So in tissues that were previously congested because of the sluggish venous outflow, and when the flow is re-established to a site of previous arterial occlusion and necrosis, for example, following fragmentation of an occlusive embolus or angioplasty of the thrombotic lesion. So the red infarction occurs in which areas with venous occlusion, like ovarian torsion, then in loose tissues like lungs, then in areas where there is dual circulation, that is lungs and small intestine. Then in those tissues which have previously been congested because of sluggish venous outflow, there is congestion of the blood. You know, when there is stagnation of the RBCs, they lead to congestion. And the area looks like different. And when the flow is re-established, it means that there was a stoppage of the blood flow for a certain period of time, and that period was prolonged beyond the normal time, like within 1 or 2 minutes. It remained there for 1 or 2 minutes or more than time. So there is recirculation, and that the blood supply was re-established. So that area will look different as compared to the rest of the area where there is continuous supply of the blood. So these are the five scenarios where you will see the red infarction. And where will you see the white infarction? White infarction, it occurs with arterial occlusions in solid organs. So the red infarction, mostly you seen that is seen in those areas like loose and like lungs. This is not a lungs are not a solid tissue, but white infarction, it occurs in solid organs with end arterial circulation, where the arterial supply stops. There is no other artery, such as heart, spleen and kidney. So these are solid organs, heart, spleen and kidney. So the infarction, if you see the infarction in these areas, it will be white infarction. But in lungs, that will be red infarction. So in white infarction, the solidity of the tissue, it limits the amount of hemorrhage, because you know when these are solid organs and they will not let the blood to ooze here and there. While in loose organs like in lungs, due to the friability of the tissue, the blood can flow here and there. So in solid organs, the tissues will limit the amount of hemorrhage, and that can seep into the area of ischemic necrosis from adjoining capillary beds. So there is, you know, in the organs, the capillaries, they join each other. They are forming the complexes, because the arterial end, it joins with the venous end and they make a complex. So this is the reason where they form their demarcation line is very clear as compared to the red infarction. But white infarction, the demarcation line, the limitation of the hemorrhage, this is very clear, and they form fine sharp edges of the infarcted zone. I mean to say this because of the adjoining capillary beds. Got my point? While in loose tissues like in lungs, this is not the case. Where the red hemorrhage occur, their areas of infarctions, they are not clearly demarcated because of the mixture of the dual blood supply. Got it? Got my point? Please give me a response, class. Are you clear? Yes. So this is the reason where the difference between the white infarction and red infarction. Okay. So most of the infarcts are wedge-shaped with the occluded vessel at the apex. So there is an apex, and if the infarction is of triangular shape, there is an apex and the rest of the area like a triangle, and the periphery of the organs, they form the base. I'll show you the pictures in next slides. You will become more clear what does it mean, the apex and the periphery of the organs. So when the base is a serosal surface, there is often an overlying fibrinous exudate. The lateral margins may be irregular, reflecting the pattern of vascular supply from adjacent vessels. So I'll show you in the next picture. First of all, we will, sorry, this is wrong. So these are the criteria of the, we are doing the criteria of the infarcted area. So margins become hyperemic. Initially, all infarcts are poorly defined and slightly hemorrhagic. But later, as the blood cells, they keep on accumulating at the site, they become more defined by a narrow rim of hyperemia attributed to the inflammation at the edges of lesion. Obviously, when there is occlusion of the blood supply, occlusion of the venous supply, so what will happen? Red blood cells will come there and will stay there. There is congestion, and as the blood flow, light amount of blood flow continues, so it becomes darker with the passage of time. So you can see this is the example of infarcts. This is the picture of a lung, and this is showing you this area is showing area of infarction. This is the apex of the infarction, and you can see serosal surface. This is the pleural surface, and this is forming the margins of the, this is a triangular shape area, and this is the example of red infarct. This is wedge-shaped, roughly wedge-shaped pulmonary infarct. And number 2, you can see this is white infarct in the spleen. This is the cut area of the spleen, and you can see comparing with this, its margins are not so clearly demarcated as compared to this. This is a fine sharp line, and this is clearly telling that this is the healthy area and this is the infarcted area. And there is more congestion, even leading towards the blackening. Red area has become blackened. So comparing these two, this is the white infarct, this is the red infarct. Sorry, this is the white infarct, this is the red infarct. So you can see a gross difference between the red and white infarct. So the red infarct is in the lung and white infarct is in the spleen. This is another example, a picture showing you the pulmonary infarction, and you can see the area showing the route of occlusion of the vessel. This arrow is showing the route of occlusion of the vessel, pulmonary artery. This is being occluded, so this whole area has become infarcted. This is a wedge shape. You can clearly uh, see that this is the area like wedge area. This is the apex of the infarct and this is the base of the infarct. This is X-ray to show you that normally this X-ray is, there is cardiomegaly. You can see this area is showing heart size X-ray of a patient. So this is these aortic prominence. These areas are, folded areas are showing the aortic prominence and there is congestion. This area is showing the pulmonary area congestion. And this is becoming dark. Lungs are slightly darker as compared to normal. And heart size is also looking big. And here this has become more clear. The lungs are congested. Normally the lungs do not look like this. This is a more hyperechoic area because of the congestion of the blood. This is a picture of the splenic infarct. You can see the triangle showing you the infarcted area. This is infarction. This is not a healthy looking area as compared to this one. This area is healthy, but this is not a healthy area. Similarly, this is not a healthy area, and their infarction has not been established yet clearly, but you can see, comparing it with the normal tissue, you can see this is the infarcted area. Similarly, this area is also getting disturbed. There is congestion over the margins and this is under process of formation. So histological changes which takes place, it depends upon many factors. Number one, changes depends upon the time. How much time has been passed at the area of infarction. Number one, ischemic coagulative necrosis. Number two, inflammation. Number three, liquefactive necrosis. Number four, abscess formation. And in the end, there is scar formation. So this is the sequence of histological changes which take place at the area of infarction. Number one, first of all, the most important factor is the time period. How much time has been passed at the area where the certain factor has caused, as we discussed factors previously. So which factor has caused what type of necrosis? I told you the thrombosis 99% area. The cause is thrombosis or emboli. And rest of the causes, you know, there is vasospasm, arterial occlusion, twisting of the vessel, pressure. So depending upon the factor and time. So these are the changes. Number one, there is ischemic coagulative necrosis. Number two, there is inflammation. Obviously, there is inflammation will take place. Then there is liquefactive necrosis. Then after the cells will die out, there is abscess formation. Abscess formation is the accumulation of white cells. At the area of inflammation, we know that the white cells, neutrophils, they accumulate at the site of inflammation. And neutrophils are forming most of the pus formation. And when it resolves, it forms a scar. So these are the histological changes which takes place at the site of infection. So this is the picture of a kidney which has been replaced by fibrotic area. This is a non-functioning kidney. Fibrosis has occurred, and you know fibrosis anywhere, fibrosis, whenever there is a fibrosis, it means the cells are not functioning. The basic unit of the kidney is nephron. So all the nephrons has been replaced by fibrous tissue, and this is a non-functioning kidney. So the factors that influence the development of infarct are, they include the nature of the vascular supply. As we know, I told you some organs are supplied by single vessel, and some tissues in the body, they are supplied by double blood supply. Number two is the rate of development of the occlusion, how fast the occlusion takes place. Number three is the vulnerability of the given tissue to hypoxia. And number four is the blood oxygen content. How much oxygen is there in the blood? It means how much oxygen the red blood cells are carrying with them. So these are the four factors. These are the major factors which are responsible for the infarction to develop. Nature of the vascular supply, rate of development of the occlusion, the vulnerability of a given tissue to the hypoxia, and the blood oxygen content. So number one, we will talk about them one by one. Number one, nature of the vascular supply. There may be double or single blood supply, and the availability of the alternative blood supply is the most important factor in determining whether the occlusion of the vessel will cause the damage or not. Obviously, this is the most important factor. If there is double blood supply, you know the other vessel will compensate the area. But if there is single blood supply, that will not be compensated. So the availability of the alternative blood supply is the most important factor. Then, for example, lungs. They have a dual blood supply, and number one is bronchial artery, and number one is pulmonary artery, and number two bronchial artery. So obstruction of a small pulmonary arteriole does not cause infarction in healthy individuals, okay, because there is an intact bronchial arterial supply. So the lungs are supplied by pulmonary and bronchial artery. If there is obstruction of pulmonary artery, small vessel, it will not lead to infarction because there is another supply of the blood by the bronchial artery. Similarly, liver has hepatic artery and portal vein circulation. So it cannot be the case in case of liver. The hand and forearm with their dual radial and ulnar arterial supply, they are insensitive to infarction. These are the examples where the double blood supply is there. So lungs, number one is lung, then liver, then hands, forearm. These are the examples. In contrast, the renal and splenic circulations are end arterial. End arterial mean there is no other arterial supply except single artery, splenic artery and renal artery. So if the obstruction occurs there, they will cause definitely infarction. So these are the nature of vascular supply is important. Number two was the rate of development of the occlusion. So if the infarction is developing slowly, so it will provide they are less likely to infarct as compared to fast development of the occlusion. For example, small interarteriolar anastomosis. Interarteriolar anastomosis, normally with minimal functional flow, they interconnect the three major coronary arteries in the heart. If one of the coronary is only slowly occluded, that is by an encroaching atherosclerosis. If this is the example of the heart. For example, atheroma is forming in the heart itself, has its own blood supply, you know. There is anterior descending artery, posterior descending artery, and interventricular arteries. So if there is an atheroma which is encroached, which has encroached there by after major surgeries, most of the emboli and thrombi, they travel towards the heart. So if they are there, so what will happen? There is collateral circulation, collateral blood supply in the heart. because if one artery is blocked, there are other collaterals in the heart which will provide the blood supply. So they may increase sufficiently, their blood flow will increase to prevent the formation of infarction, even though the major coronary artery is eventually occluded. You got my point? Rate of development of occlusion means that the heart, example is heart is supplied by its major vessels and collateral vessels. So in those people who do not have their collateral vessels, they will die immediately when once the atheroma is there or there is blockage of the blood vessel. But in those patients, in those persons who have collateral blood supply, they will not develop the infarction because the other vessels, they will compensate the area and they will supply the blood. Okay. So there is small interarteriolar anastomosis in between them. So heart is an example. Most of the people, you might have heard that some people, they die after heart attack and some people, they do not, because those people who are escaped from the heart attack, they have collateral in their hearts. And those people who do not have collateral vessels in their heart, they will die. For example, in previous days, you might have heard Professor Faisal Masood. He died of heart attack because he might not be having collateral in his heart. So this is one of the example. This is rate of development of the occlusion. Number 3 is vulnerability to hypoxia. The vulnerability means the susceptibility of a tissue to hypoxia influences the infarction, like brain cells, neurons. Neurons cannot live without blood even for a minute. But if there is there is irreversible damage in the neuronal cells. So if this infarction or inavailability of the blood, it continues for 3 to 4 minutes, the neuron cell will die. So the hypoxia should not be there more than 2 minutes. Even a minute is sufficient enough, but I would say that it should not exceed beyond 2 to 3 minutes. Then myocardial cells, they are stronger than neuron cells. Neurons are very sensitive cells, and this is the basic unit of the brain. So neurons, they're all dependent on the oxygen and glucose. If oxygen is not there for 2 to 3 minutes, brain cell will die. If glucose is not there, patient can be survived by giving 25% intravenous glucose. But these two are the most important nutrients for the brain cell survival. Oxygen and glucose. Neuron is one of the example. Myocardial cells, they are tougher than neurons, and they can live for 20 to 30 minutes without these things, but they can be survived. Then in contrast, fibroblasts, which are lying within the myocardium, they remain viable even after many hours of ischemia. Fibroblast is such type of cells. So this also depends upon the vulnerability to the hypoxia. Then another factor is oxygen. You know, oxygen is the most important part. The partial pressure of oxygen in the blood. Now, one of the example is during corona, you might have seen that most of the patients, they die even they are on the ventilator because the oxygen supply is not sufficient enough for the lungs. So partial pressure of oxygen in the blood, it determines the outcome of vascular occlusion. The partial pressure in the lungs, you know, it should be above 95, 98, 99. This 98 to 99% is the normal oxygen saturation. If it drops down to 70 to 50, 50 is not a good percentage. After 50, patient cannot be survived. So the normal percentage of oxygen saturation in the lung cells is 98%. That's why the patient with corona, their lungs are affected and they are breathing very difficult. So, can you hear me, class? Sorry, there was an interruption due to electrical supply. Okay, so we were discussing about the oxygen content of the blood. So, oxygen content is one of the important factor which is responsible. I was telling you that oxygen, hemoglobin, they carry oxygen along with them. So if the person is anemic, so obviously red blood cells are low, so oxygen content will be low. So anemia is one of the factor which is responsible for causing carrying low oxygen supply to the area. Then if there is vascular occlusion of certain part of the body, so it will lead to less oxygen content of blood. Then partial obstruction of the small vessel in an anemic or cyanotic patient, it might lead to tissue infarction, whereas it would be without effect under conditions of normal oxygen tension. So if there is partial obstruction or there is anemia, or in cases of cyanosis is the bluish coloration of the skin. So in these conditions, even if the oxygen supply is normal, but due to obstruction of small vessels, it will lead to, because there is partial blood flow, the blood is not being supplied fully. So it will lead to infarction. Similarly, congestive heart failure is one of the example with compromised flow and ventilation, and it could cause infarction in the setting of an otherwise inconsequential blockage. So congestive heart failure, you know this terminology. This is one of the example in which the oxygen is not being supplied properly, because you know the main supply of blood which flows, it goes into the heart, inferior vena cava. This is opening into the right atrium. Then from the right atrium it goes into the right ventricle. From the ventricle it goes into the lungs through the pulmonary vessels. Then from the lungs, this is cleared by the lungs and it comes back into the heart by the pulmonary artery, and it opens into the left ventricle, and from the left ventricle it goes to the um, superior vena cava, aortic vessel to supply the rest of the body. So this is the normal. And in congestive heart failure, the oxygen supply is not sufficient. And similarly in anemic patient, in cyanotic patient, because there is in anemia, the vessels, the red blood cell content is low. In cyanosis, there is partial flow obstruction, so the patient hand, they become blue and skin becomes cyanosed. So these are the examples. So we have discussed 4 factors which influence the development of infarction. So the major determinant of the infarction is the oxygen content. So you know what is the critical value of hemoglobin? How much hemoglobin you should have? Normal people, healthy people. What is the range of hemoglobin in male and female? You know that? Class, can you tell me what is the normal range of hemoglobin level in male and in females? In females, the normal range of hemoglobin is from 12 to 14 gram per deciliter, and in males this is from 13 to 16 gram per deciliter. If it goes beyond 14, in some females it could be 15 depending upon the nutrition and status of health. Yes, good, very good. In male and female, and their unit should be with them gram per deciliter. Hemoglobin is measured in gram per deciliter. No figure should be given without units. So if the hemoglobin level it exceeds beyond the normal limits, upper limits, so this is another condition which is called polycythemia. Polycythemia is excessive production of hemoglobin or excessive production of RBCs, and this is not a healthy state. That is another disease condition. So it should be within normal range. So this was all about the infarction. I hope this is very simple and important topic and easy to understand. So if you have any question, please ask me. Any question, please? You should know the definition of infarction, the types of infarction, the factors responsible for the infarction, what is red infarction, what is white infarction, and with their examples. That's it. This is the total topic. That was not a lengthy topic. Do you have any question? Boys? Abdullah, your class rep is Abdullah. Abdullah, I think. Abdullah is there? Malik Umair. Who is the class rep? Today your attendance is short. 130 people are there out of 160. Out of 160 people. How much are you total? Your total class is 160 or 155? 155. So 25 students are missing. They did not attend the class. Uswachima. So what is infarction? What is the most important factor in causing the infarction? What is the most important factor? Boys, can you tell me which is the most important factor in causing infarction? There is no interaction today. We still have 10 minutes. So we still have 10 minutes. You can ask me question or I should ask you. How many types of infarction are there? Class, how many types of infarction are there? 2 types, name them. What are the types of infarction? Red and white, yes. And infarction is an area of ischemic necrosis due to occlusion of good. Very good. Seema Zulfan. Yes, rate of occlusion, blood supply, vulnerability, hypoxia. Yes, this is important. Good. And most important factor is oxygen content. Red is hemorrhagic, white is anemic infarct. Yes. Yes. Good. And oxygen supply is the most important factor. If oxygen is insufficient and the area is, although no other factor is there, so it can also lead to infarction due to partial flow towards the area. Yes, give me some example of white infarct. Few examples of white infarct. From boys' side, boys are not taking part in this discussion. Boys are not there. They are sleeping, I think. Spleen, kidney, yes, solid organs. Solid organs, they develop what type of infarction? Spleen, kidney, pancreas, and heart is another white infarction. And red infarction is in loose and lax tissues like pulmonary, lungs is one of the example, and intestines, gut is another example of red infarction. Yes. Malik Umair. Are you Malik Umair? Are you class rep? Are you CR of the class? Okay, I forgot his name. Abdullah? Is he Abdullah or what? What is his name? Abdullah Rao Altaf. Abdullah is not there. Class rep is most of the time absent from the classes. I think he comes in the end. He joins the discussion in the end. This is bad. You are sitting in your at your places, and this is very easy to turn on your computers, laptops, and listen the chapter lecture. This is once you read from your books. Another revision is by listening, and third time you can again read the book. So it will make your concept more clear. But people are not bothered at least. Attendance is getting short. Now it's 128 people are there. So please, boys, can you, Juma is there. Juma is for everybody, not for him. And most of the people, they are offering their Jumas at home. They are not going to the mosque because of Corona. So Abdullah is taking special preparation. Last time he was not there. He came in the end of the lecture. When I asked about him, he appeared in the end. Somebody informed him that I am asking about him, so he joined the lecture. So this is not a good habit. You should listen at least. You are sitting at your places. No botheration at all. And you are going to have your hemodynamics test on 22nd of this, after 3 days. Are you prepared for this test? Do you want to ask any question regarding whole topic hemodynamics? We still have 5 minutes. Do you have any problem in hemodynamics chapter? You are going to appear in your test 3 days after. Are you well prepared with this topic, hemodynamic? Did you find it easy or difficult? Important, important questions mean paper, test paper. I should tell. Important questions. I keep on telling you the important points, whatever I taught you. So, like definitions are important, factors, their types. In hemodynamics, there few. Everything seems to be important from MCQ point of view. You can get MCQ from this whole chapter, but important things I kept on telling you. You might have remembered. Like I told you about the shock, the types of shock, definition. Then in this infarction, you should know what is white infarction, red infarction, their examples. This is the MCQ questions. Then what else? Tell me the topics. Thrombosis is important. You can be given a scenario. So is this a case of thrombosis of infarction? This type of questions you can get in your test. So paper would be hemodynamics is an easy topic. It won't be so difficult. You should have the basic concept about the terminologies and their examples are important. And pathophysiology, small few lines about the pathophysiology, because you know each question is 2.5 marks. So you should write the main things about basic concept should be clear. This is not necessary that you write the essay, but you only need to know the basic concept of the question. No matter if this is 2 or 3 lines, that would be sufficient, but the main content of the answer should be there in those lines. You tell me the topic and ask me about that topic. Class, you tell me the topic and I can tell you. Okay, so are you all clear about your problems? Okay, okay, class. Good luck for your test. And I hope you will do your best in your test because the topics are easy. Are you clear with the topics I taught you about hemodynamics? The topics which I taught you, are you clear with those things? Okay, thank you. Good luck. Stay safe. Stay home. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.